Hey there, this is Sandy, and I'm back at the Solaris, continuing my journey to learn about this machine, working on various projects along the way. And today I'm working on a quilted jacket. I took a class at the Sewing Source in Lakeville, Illinois, where we took a sweatshirt, cut it up, and we're turning it into a quilted jacket. So you see the sleeve that I'm going to be working on today on the left side of the screen. And then in front of you, here was another part of my assignment where I had to take like the front and the back part of the sweatshirt, and after sewing up a bunch of pieces of fabric, cutting on them at different widths, and then sewing them to the front of the the sweatshirt, and then that was like quilting it to the sweatshirt. So now I'm using the hoop to do the quilting for the whole sleeve, which is the last part of my assignment before tomorrow's class. So I was thinking about what to use as a stabilizer. I didn't want to use no-show mesh like this for the whole thing because this will eventually be going up against my skin. This is the fabric, in the middle is the sweatshirt, and then underneath that I have the soft, it's by Babylock, and it's called Ultra Soft Fusible Interfacing, which I'm using like a stabilizer. And so I've got it in the hoop mostly, except for on this far right edge where I didn't really have to have it, but I put it in there just so I could get the sleeve to quilt edge to edge in the hoop so it would go wide enough. So I only used it on the right side, and you can see that's the two taped together. Well, it's taped on this side, but then this is the other side that's not. So that's how I decided to do the stabilizer. And I'm using the 10 5/8 by 16 hoop. I taped down the sides of the sleeve. I probably be sorry about that, having to pick out, the stitching from the taping, but I knew that by doing it this way, it's going to have to actually stitch all in this area and the top where there is no fabric. So hopefully that turns out okay. But I'll move it like I usually do when I'm doing edge to edge in the hoop for a quilt. So we'll see how this goes. So I'm going to go into embroidery now. And then the cue for quilting. And then here's the design area. And that's where you find the 10 edge to edge designs for stitching. So when I chose my design that I was going to use today, I looked at these designs and I compare them to the fabric here and think, which one do I want to use? I love the flower one. I haven't used that one yet. I would have loved to have used that one, but I think it might be a little too busy on top of this paisley-like fabric design. So the other one I thought of was this one. I guess I could have used this one, which looks more like a stipple, but I ended up using this one because I thought this would be too busy. Some of these are just too busy. Some of them just aren't appropriate. I don't know. I've used the stars before. No snowflakes. Didn't really want to use this one for this design. And I'm using black thread. So I figured I'll just use this one. And so you can see it shows up in the screen here. I'll press set. And now this is where I put in my measurements. So I measured a little wide to get it in the hoop. It's, I think I had to put, it's 20 across, but I used 22. And I press set. And then it wants the length, and I press 20 and set. That's the measurement across my armpit of my sleeve, and then the length from top to bottom. And I could do the flip option, but for this project I'm just going to do the same design across and down. So I'm not going to do flip at all here. So I press next, and it shows it's going to be 3 rows across, 2 down, a total of 6 hoopings or pieces they call it here. So now here I want a single stitch. I don't want the triple. And now I want to pick the color of thread. And then at first I didn't think this was really very handy, but I'm going to pick a light color here because based on my experience in the past, it's helpful to pick the color you want the machine to project down on your design. Since I'm doing a dark fabric, I'm going to use a light color thread. for it to project down on the fabric and this white stabilizer. So I picked this pink mountain rose color and I'll press OK. Now it's just showing me how it's going to look, confirming the pieces and the measurements, and I'll press it memory. It's just confirming it, and it wants to ask if I'm going to embroider the data. I'll press OK. Otherwise, I can press cancel and go back and change whatever I need to change. When I'm pressing OK, when I do that, it stores it as the first icon here. You can see the number 6 here, so that's the right one. In this screen, there's a number 6. That's the machine-guided instructions. These are the ones that you can walk through, but you won't have the machine-guided instructions, so you can do it either way. That's based on what I've learned. If you learn anything different, let me know. But I'm going to just pick this first one and then press set. And now it's reminding me about how I need to hoop in the upper left-hand corner. So I've already done that, and I think I might have said in the beginning that I use this stabilizer in a way to mimic edge-to-edge hooping for a quilt. So I'm going to press OK, but keep in mind that it's not going to go, the fabric that I have doesn't go up in the corner. I kind of have to imagine that when I'm placing the hoop, because I want it to quilt across the top, evenly down the whole sleeve. Hopefully that makes sense. So I press OK, and now it's reminding me that I can use the pattern keys to align the upper corner of the pattern area with the upper left marking of the area to be embroidered. So now it moves over to that side of the screen and hoop. So now I'll move you over, but I'm going to be using these keys to move the hoop, and if I want to check, I can use these keys or icons, and this is the button that will take me to the center point, or the point where it's going to connect the pattern edge to edge. This is the first hooping, so it's really, to me, it's more of the center point, but so is this one. So to me, I don't really even use this one when I'm doing the first hoop, but it's there. So I'm going to go over to here now and let you see this part, and I'm going to move this over, because then I can see that red or the pink that I picked really good. So now this is where I want it to be as far wide as possible. Now I have to look at the top of the sleeve. If you can see it, back here is the top of the sleeve. So I have to make sure when I go up to the top that I cover that area, because even though there's no fabric there, it's got to go up high enough so that it will quilt across the top of the sleeve. Okay, so that's probably going to be good for me. And I'm going to slow the machine speed down. It is pretty slow, but I'm going to put it down to 500 just because this is the first time I've done a sleeve. I've done other things like this using the edge to edge, but not a sleeve. So I just don't want it to get hung up on this fabric, but I think it'll be okay. So now I've got it up in the upper left corner so it can stitch down. Now this is where I'll use those move keys, and I can see, is it going to be able to stitch on my fabric? Yes, it's still okay. And it's still okay here. So that's the bottom of the design. So if I go to the middle, I'm holding my finger there, it's going to stitch to about here. And if I go to the middle and to the far right, so now this is the far right of the frame that it's going to stitch. So it will stitch in here and down, and it will connect the pattern. So if I go down the far, so keep your eye here. So it will stitch down to there, and then over to there on the fabric. So you can kind of get an idea of where it's going to stitch on the fabric. So I think that's going to work out fine, and I'll be able to connect the pattern and keep the design going across. So I'll press OK because I like that. Now here, it's just reminding me to use the rotate keys and adjust the angle of the pattern while keeping an eye on the points around the pattern. So if it looks like it's angling up the design, then I can use the angle, adjust the angle to make the design look right. And so now I'm just looking across the top. So I'm at the far right. I already checked this, and it looks like to me it's not angling. Because say if it was like way down here, you know, and it angled, it would be obvious you need to change something. But it looks good to me, so I'm just going to press OK. All right, so now I know it's going to stitch in this area that doesn't have fabric, but I'm just going to be okay with that. And all I have to do is press start. Yeah, it's wasted. It's wasting some stabilizer and some thread and stuff, but it's saving me time on the quilting part, hopefully. And I think once I get past this area where there isn't any fabric, I can speed up the machine. I was just gonna go slow to test it out, you know, while it's in that corner, and I think it's okay, so I can speed it up. And it's a good test, actually, when I think about it, to see, will that look okay in here? And I think that's going to be fine. Six hooping should not take that long. And when you do something like this, you got to check to make sure that you like the height of your embroidery foot. So I think I've got it up to, it's not at the setting for the factory, or you know, where the default setting is the word I'm looking for. I think I got it one up higher, and it's looking okay. And I'm really glad I taped it down, because I know I'll have to pick that out, but it's better than worrying about the fabric getting caught in the hoop and bending something. It's only a 2-minute stitch out for each pattern design. And I know that it took me a while to figure out how to stabilize it and how to set it up, you know, which feature of the machine will I use. Instead of, I could have gone right to the straight stitch, you know, drawing lines and straight stitch quilting, but I always wanted to keep trying something new with the machine. So this is the end of the design here, and it makes another little mark. So this will help me to, that mark helps me to match up the next row. So like, it's with my eyeballs, it's always hard for me to see where it ends. So I put a little dot there, just so when I move it over, because it's telling me on the right here that it's finished. Is it okay to connect? And I'll say okay. And now it brings up the next screen, reminding me to rehoop the fabric to the right. So this fabric that's to the right, I'm going to move it to the left. And I'm going to remember to keep it level at the top, and because I want to, I don't want to like just move it up, way up or way down. It's got to it's got to be close enough so that when I use those position keys or move keys, it will be able to move it far enough in order to match up the edge to edge stitching. So I'm just going to move it across. So I'll lift my hoop like this, and I just kind of keep my hand on here, try to move it straight. Across and level, and keep that side. And I might have to move it again, but this is what I do to try and keep things straight and where I'll have a better chance to move it. So I'll press OK to these instructions. And I just realized you didn't see how I did that. So I'm going to show you again, you know, when I do the next move after it stitches out this pattern. Right now I'm working on moving the fabric across from the right to the left and matching up this the end stitch from the previous pattern to where it will start in the next time it will stitch it out. And I'm going to make sure that when I do that everything is straight. It's not going to be at a weird angle so that it's embroidering off where I need it to embroider. I got to keep everything kind of level across as I go across the top of the sleeve. So I'll press OK, see how close I am. And I don't think I'm that close because I have to use the move keys and I can only go over so far. So I think I need to move it down more. And I would have done this, press that key to get closer to where I need to move. But it makes it really hard for these large hoops to get them moved away so that you can move the fabric. So I guess it's not too hard, but I'm surprised I had to move it down so much. But I'm taking the dot off, making sure I've got it level. And I'll straighten out the edges. Okay, so that's not actually... All right, so I'm going to use those pattern move keys to line up to this mark here. Let's see if I can get my little pointer. Is a pink. I could have even gone with a white or a yellow to make this show up, but I can see it pretty good. So here's why I'm trying to line up my foot. And then I go down a little bit. And I think that's where I need to be. Now, I was using these keys to do that moving. Now I'm going to use these keys to check the alignment. And if I want to recheck anytime during the screen where I matched up the end point of the previous pattern to the new point of where it's going to start stitching, I can always press this icon and it will go back and check it. So I'm going to be using those keys, and I'm just going to do some scanning to see if I'm straight. And that's pretty straight with the left-hand side. And if I'm keeping my eyeball going across, that looks pretty straight. Go down a little more. And in the middle. Now I'm going to go up a little bit more. And I'm just double checking that I picked the right mark. And this is the mark. So I'll use this key, the little lightning rod key. I'm going to press that. It should go to the yellow dot. There we go. So I think that everything looks pretty straight. So I'll save that dot for next time. And I'm going to press OK. But do I have my little thing? Yep, I have that. I'm pressing OK because I've matched everything up. I've done these up and down checks to make sure it doesn't hit this side of the stitching. And that looks good. Oh, look at it. It is angled off. So when I get to the next screen, I can fix this angle. Or I could just do this. Let me just lift it up. So this is why it's really important to get the hoopings It's pretty tight, that magnetic hoop. So this is where I need to be moving this. I'm trying to make sure that you can actually see. Yeah. It has to be here. It has to start outside. So when I moved it, I must have like not angled things properly. It's easier. I guess I should have included more at the top. I thought I did. But I had to go a little longer for this to work. It's actually 20 inches from the top of the sleeve to the bottom and 20 across the armhole. But in order to get it to hoop right and line up right, I had to yeah, now I'm off because I moved that. So now I'm going to redo this part. I'm going to move this over and then down. This is the end point. I'm matching it up to it again because I moved it because I found out the angle was off. So anyway, I was saying that, and I can see if I go down and check. Oh. Yeah, I'm just doing that again. Okay, so now if I do this move, it looks like it's lined up okay. I'll go to the top again. It's pretty close. It's better than it was. Remember, it was way over like this. But see how far out that is from here? It's like a quarter inch. And if I go down to here, it's actually touching the design, the next. It's very close to touching the next. So it looks like I got to kick my angle out. I got to make it angle up a little bit more. So I'll do that on the next screen. Now it's reminding me here to use the angle buttons if I need to adjust the angle, which is what I was talking about. So I need to angle that up. So I'm going to go back over here. I'm going to use the angle buttons and just show you what I'm doing. If I angle that up, 1% seems like it's going to be too much. So if I go down to the middle, let's see. This is where it was off. It started in the middle. I pressed the middle button and it matched up with the preceding hoop marking, or the ending mark for the preceding hoop, if that makes sense. So I'm using the 0.1% angle to angle it up. I'm going to see if that's enough. Yeah, that's probably good enough. And I'll just go to the top. Yeah, that's a little better. So when I press the middle button here, it lines up with the end point. So I should be okay. So I'm going to press OK, and I'm going to stitch. And once again, it will stitch off the fabric. I'm just going to call all that fabric away. It's kind of sloppy how I'd handle this here, but it's not going to stitch over there very much. I'm just checking how it goes over this. There's a little area where I didn't hoop. I'm sorry, tape it down. I hooped it, I didn't tape it down. But it made it through okay. And that's the farthest outside that it will stitch, so I don't have to worry about that. So it's turning out like I imagined it would. That's a good thing. And I don't think this swirly design is too much. The one thing I learned a little trick after I did my last edge-to-edge hooping, whereas if you pull up, there's a way you can turn off the thread cutting so that when you're doing an edge-to-edge project, if you don't want it to tie off every time it connects the two hoops or the two frames, it won't cut it off. It will just be, I think, a long thread that at the end you can cut off. But I've never done it before. But there's one way to eliminate all of those little knots that you see on the back. Next time I do one of those projects, I'll try it. Okay, so we've got, that's the end, which is about there, and that's the marking for the next row. So I'm going to press OK to connect. I'll just double check that I found, that I marked the right spot, and there it is. Okay. So now it's giving me the same reminders to rehoop the fabric to the right side while including the right edge of the pattern on the left of the hoop. So I'm going to lift this up again. Flip that back. Try to move this straight across this time. Hopefully I have enough. Stabilizer hooped because I don't have much fabric. I think I should have used more stabilizer, but we'll see if we can make it work. I mean, I did include a lot of extra, but it looks like I didn't include enough for the top, but it's working. Okay, so now I'll say okay to that screen. Then it's just reminding me again to use the move pattern keys to align the start point with the end point of the previous pattern. So that's what it's telling me to do. Just reminders. Then it moves you over there. And look how close I am this time. Did a little better that time. So now I'm going to use those move keys to adjust. I'm going to go up first to see the thread because it's like black on black. It's kind of hard to see. And then I'll go down, or up, over, and down there. And I like to have it stitch over the ending mark of the previous frame a little bit. So I've marked that up. I've lined that up. And like I said, now I've used these keys to line it up. Now I'm going to use these to check my alignment in the hoop. So these are the move keys. And at any point, I can press this key to check that my line that I initially matched up to the ending point of the previous design or hoop with the starting point of this new hooping. I can double check that it hasn't moved, because if you don't make sure that's matched up, when it goes to sew, it won't connect those two threads and it'll look bad. So I'm going to use these keys now. And I'm checking the angle. Like, is it angling? I know they say to check that in the next one, but I do it now. And I can see that when I moved it in the hoop, it wasn't straight at the bottom. So, like, I can see that it crossed. Here's the design, and the line is here. So, I really think I've got the starting point moved. I've got the starting point okay, but I think when I moved the bottom part of the frame, I was being too conservative because I know I don't have that much stabilizer. So I'm shifting it a little bit to make sure that it lines up. Let me see. There's the pattern. Okay, let's see. I can see the line shining down. So we'll see if the way I moved it this time is good. And as you can see, I'm working with a very small piece of fabric compared to a whole quilt. So I think next time if I do this, I'll use a lot more stabilizer on the right side. So let's see if this angle is straight. And before I lay it down, see if my hoop will match up a little better there, because I always got to squeeze the edges too to make sure it lines up. All right, so now I'm going to use these pattern move keys again to see how does it hit this design. And I think it still could come over a little more, but maybe I can fix that angle in the next frame. No, it's not too bad. Okay, so if I go to this, use that lightning rod button, how close am I? So I do need to move it down since I moved the frame once again. Much easier to me to do an edge-to-edge quilt using this feature. Okay, almost done. Then the next one, I have 2 sleeves to work on tonight. And so there's that one. And now that I got that matched up, I can check one more time that I like how it's lined up. Yeah, that's much better. So I can press OK. And now it's telling me double check your angles. And I can actually, there's another screen here. Since this is the right side of the screen of the last frame of the first row, it wants me to check my angles, which I kind of did because I checked the left side going up and down to make sure it looks straight. But I'll check across now. And also on the right side, I can make it larger if I need to get the quilting to finish off the whole right side of the frame. So I'll press OK. And now over here, I can check, is it level across the top? And is it level down the side? And it looks good to me. Let me just check one more time. I think I can actually adjust this down a little bit. I'm using a 0.1% angle down. And I think that's good. I press OK. And now I can say stitch. And it connects the ending thread of the previous frame. So when it stitches this time, it's going to go off again, because I don't have fabric up there. I'm just stitching my sleeve. But it's okay, because I'll just cut that off like I said before. So then the next time, there's 3 more frames that I'll need to stitch, but I first have to move it down after it's done doing this stitching. And as you can see, I didn't have to use the frame or that button or key to make it wider, because it was wide enough. Well, a lot of times I have had to use that. It turned out to be just right. But it is handy to have that key to make to widen the design. Say if it was only gonna hit to here, I could use that key to widen it so that it would stretch out the design a little to fit across the whole frame. But I did end up telling, I think I told you in the beginning, that I made it a little wider to make sure that I got the whole thing quilted, knowing that it would quilt off the edge a little bit. Now it's stitching on the no-show mesh again, and it seems to be doing fine. So when I'm done with this, I'll peel off the tape, I'll cut around the sleeve, and I'll have my assignment ready. Yeah, that's as far as it goes on the right side. It's making the ending point. You can see it really good there. And I'll make this other matching point at the bottom. Now I've got to go and move the whole thing down and match up those marks. These marks that it made at the bottom to the top. Use them as the top of the next frame. It's saying embroidery is finished, okay to connect the next pattern, and I press OK, and it just starts to give me those instructions again, only now it's saying one row is finished. To start the next row, rehoop the fabric to the left edge of the next row while including the thread mark of the upper pattern in the hoop. So there's 2 thread marks here and here. I'm going to move the whole thing, the fabric up, and then match those 2 thread marks. So I'm lifting my frame again. And I could actually, for purposes of my eyeballs and filming, here's the first one, the yellow mark, and here's the second one. So I got to move that up far enough so it starts stitching the second row in the hoop. Trying to keep things level. And we'll see how we start out, because this to me is like one of the more challenging parts of doing edge to edge in the hoop, is getting those marks set up the first time. And it might be a little bit of adjusting here and there, but it's not impossible. So I'm going to press OK. And it's reminding me to use the pattern keys to align the upper left corner of the pattern area with the lower left thread mark of the upper pattern. So these are the lower mark thread marks. And I might be too far. I might have to pull this over more. But I'm pretty close as far as how high to get them. So I don't think it's going to move. I'm going to use those keys. I don't think it's going to move over that far. Nope. It's close. Oh, maybe. Oh, yeah. Okay. It's not bad. Now I can move it down. So I'm just getting this crosshair lined up. I don't know if you can see that. There's a crosshair right here. And I'm just using the move keys to line up that crosshair. Then I'm going to go across to this. Let's just see how close. Holy cow. I'm close. So I'm going to feel it because it's black on black. Okay, it's a little bit angled, but it's not bad. So I think I'm good across the top. I'll just check the middle. Yeah, that's okay. So it is angled a little. I'm going to press OK, and then it'll tell me to check the rotate keys and fix that in the next frame. And if I need to, again, if I need to adjust the pattern to make it wide enough, I can. But as you saw, I matched up the top 2 marks pretty well. So I'm going to press OK. So here is where I use the angle buttons. And let's see if I can find the pointer I had. My purple thing disappeared. Here's the mark, and the red mark is right above it. So if I use the move key and this side lines up again, it does. So I know it's angling. So I'm going to go across here. And I'm going to use the angle to push it down. I'm just going to use the 0.1. It only lets me do it a certain amount, because when you angle it, the whole design like shifts. The whole thing like shifts like this. I'm trying to angle it like this. And because I'm doing that, it doesn't want to like go off the edge. So it's giving me the knock. So I'm just going to check this one more time. I think that's close enough. So I'm going to go ahead and start the stitching. So it's in the middle of the sleeve. When I first saw this, I was like, oh my gosh, is it going to stitch this part? But I forgot. It starts in the middle. And it will stitch up to the next row. And so it's going to get to the bottom of the sleeve. So this is the second row, first frame. So this is actually the fourth frame. And I can show you the little trick if you want. Well, I'm in control of the video, so I can show you, like say I wanted to run downstairs and eat dinner, but there was a thunderstorm and I didn't want to leave my machine on. So I just have to get to the end of this frame and stitch it out. And then I can remember or mark down I'm on the fourth frame. So the next frame I would finish would be number 5. So mark that down, and I don't have this taped. 1 second. And I don't like that it's not taped because it is kind of high. Let's see here. Can I make this tape work? I use paper tape, but that's kind of thin. Sometimes it's hard to pull up. So I'm just going to do this really quick. I do not want to ruin my embroidery foot. I may regret using painter tape. I haven't had too many regrets using this paper tape. It is really sticky, but I'll use my, I think they're called Famori tweezers. They really grab the tape at the edge and help me to rip it up, so I don't have to use my fingernails or my fingers too much. I use the tweezers. Now, okay, it's telling me that, so remember it made that little mark over here. Well, it knows it's the end. There's no more rows to stitch, so I just need to press OK if it wants me to connect. And now it's telling me to rehoop it. Move the fabric to the left. Lining things up at the top. Trying to keep things level. And with a smaller piece, it's a little more challenging, but I'll just do like I did last time. And it's really, really hard for me to see. I'm trying to get the little dot. Okay, where the stitch left off. Here it is, right here. Okay, so I'm going to press OK and it's telling me, reminding me about the angles and stuff. So it's moving it over, and now I know about where I need to be to hook to line up this next frame. So let's see how close I am. Just getting the frame correct. Okay, so now I am going to move it over. Are you seeing okay? Yes. Okay, perfect. And up. So this is about where we need it to be. You can see the crosshair on the yellow mark pretty good. So now I'll use these move pattern keys. Okay, it looks like it's angling down a little bit, which does not surprise me because of how I hooped it. Yeah. Let me see where the top is. Well, this is the top. So where is that other marking? Okay, I'm going to get another mark. They're so hard to see. And now there should be another one over here. Let me see if I take this off one more time. Here's the other marking. See how crooked it is? That's why it was angling. So I need to fix that. And I'm at the top, so I think right about there. And I'm going to do that little lightning rod to see how close I am still. So now I have to move it again. I'm just lining up the ending point of the previous pattern. Now I can do the positioning to make sure I'm not hitting the previous pattern. So I'm using the middle. I'm going to check the middle. See? Yeah, the middle lines up like the lightning rod. And I can take this off. Let's see how close I am. A lot closer than I was. So I bet if I pull, I can get that. But now I have to check to make sure I didn't pull too much and make this one out of alignment. And let's see. Yeah, I think it did notice that I pulled. So I'm going to move it up. Which should make it perfect. Because it moves it up. So it moves it up. And now if I go across, let's see how close we are. It is angling up. But I think I can fix that in the next frame. So I'll press OK. And it's telling me again, fix the angles, and I can also elongate the pattern if I need to. So I'm going to press OK. So here's where I'm at, and here's where I need to be. So I'm going to angle down. And I'm going to go in because I'm outside of that line. So if I show you over here, I use this key to angle down 1%. And then I'm using this one to push the design, to shorten it. Because for some reason it got longer. So sometimes you got to use those buttons. Keys, icons. And it won't let me do any more movement downward. So I think we're good because actually I think it needs to be pulled a little bit. Definitely harder working with a smaller piece. So here's the first mark. And I go across. It's not, yeah, it was hitting that fabric up there. So now it's better. That part looks good. gonna quilt across there. Okay, it's angling over this design a little bit, but it's not bad. So I think it's good enough. It is. If I go to the middle, I can check to see if it's matching up still. There. I kind of pull my frame a little bit, the fabric in the frame, to get it to match up, because I should have done all this matching up in the previous frame, but sometimes I got to finagle it here too, and that's how you work around it. So I pressed OK. Now I can stitch, and it matches it up. And it looks like it did it perfectly. Yay! I hope that it's been in frame all this time. I've been trying to watch it so that it stays in frame. The video. And I'm going to see if I can speed it up even more, because we're in the middle of the sleeve. So this is a Solaris 3, and when I first introduced the video, the screen showed it was a 2, but it's been upgraded to a 3, which means it does all the same things as a Vision. It has all the couching features and edge to edge, and as a Vision. The only thing different is the name of the machine that's printed on it is Solaris 2. And when it's actually a Solaris Vision, and they do have machines where they actually issued the name Solaris Vision. This one is a 2 upgraded to 3, and there's actually a Solaris that's just Solaris, so that's the 1. And some people have that, and they've upgraded it to a 2 and then a 3, so they also have the same features as a Vision. But now the Babylock came out with the Radiance machine, which is a really cool machine. It's got a larger projector. The top features I can remember is that projector. It's got picture play, I think it's called, where you can scan in a photo and digitize it in many different ways and stitch it out, which is what I really wanted to do with this one, but it doesn't do that with the scanning bed. You can do all kinds of things with the scanning bed, but I haven't had luck with doing pictures. The scanning feature, i2 Designer, with the fills and all, it seems to do the best with clip art or cartoon books or things like that. And if you like to draw, you can do that too. Okay, this is the ending point. Now I have to move it over. Let's see how that works out. Nope, that's not going to work. I got to get it in the hoop a little more. Squeezing the edges and pulling the fabric taut. Okay, let's see how that is. It's asking me if I want to connect. I press OK. And it's getting the instructions. It's reminding me to line up the top 2 marks and to align this pattern mark. So I'm pressing OK twice, and it moves me over. I take my little dot off, moving it over to the mark, and I'm going stitching over it a little bit because it's just the way I like to do it. Then I'm using the positioning keys. I can kind of see it's a little angled, and I'm going up. Let's see, where is it at? It's in the middle of the frame now, so I'm going down. And then I'm going up to the middle. There it is. And I'm going to the top. And I'm just checking to make sure it doesn't go over. Okay, and then I'll go to the right. And I know it's going to have enough. It's in the middle now. So this is how far it's going to stitch, all the way out to here as it goes down. And I won't stop it because to save on anything, because I want it to quilt this whole area. So I'm going to use that lightning rod and double check that it comes back to this mark. And it did move a little bit. I don't know why I didn't finagle the hoop or anything. So I was just doing a little bit of last minute adjustments, and I'll press OK. Now it reminds me to do the angle checking. And also if I needed to extend it out, I could do that, the design. But it was fine. But I'll press OK. And now this is the far right of the hoop. So I'll just do one last check. And there's the mark. And there's the mark, but it's a little bit outside of that, so I could actually make it go in. I don't want to, like, I'm not doing too many adjustments to shrink the design because I want the design to be the same. I might angle it up a little bit to make that design meet, or that mark meet with the crosshairs. And then I'm going to go across and just double check this again. And here's the mark there, so that's pretty close. That still lines up. And that's not okay, so we're good. So I'm checking to make sure that the new design doesn't stitch over the previous frame. So it's connecting the previous mark of the last frame to this new one. And we're at the end of doing the quilting in the hoop for the sleeve. The 2-minute stitch out. So when I'm done, I'll just take it out of the hoop and show you how it looks. And then you can decide if you want to try this ever. So if you like what I'm doing with these videos, please make a comment. Let me know what you're working on. Let me know if this was helpful. You know, I could have just, the only thing I think I could have done different is I could have done like a sheet of fabric. Just quilted the whole thing. But I think I'd rather waste stabilizer than fabric. Or I could have done like, filled the whole, like the whole frame with fabric. So I think I'm pretty happy with how I did this process. So all I have to do when I'm done is one more like this. I got it all hooped and ready to go. I'm taking out the blue tape. It seems to be coming off really good. I don't want to disturb the machine while it's embroidering. Yeah, it's coming off good. So now it's doing this. Did it quilt it all? I think it's done doing the right frame, so I could actually stop it here because it already did all the quilting. Okay. Now, let me just pretend. I think I was going to show you how to, if you wanted to shut down your machine because there was a lightning storm, you want to go eat dinner or whatever. Let's pretend we didn't do this frame and we left off on frame 5. So we were starting frame 6. But pretend we didn't go this far. Pretend I didn't stitch out this hoop. I stitched out hoop 5 and I finished that process. I can just, let's see if I make the screen smaller. Stop what I'm doing here. Just remember that I'm on frame 6 and press OK. Then I can go to embroidery, go to the embroidery pocket, press the design that we're working on, press the design again here in the corner because that's the machine guided instructions. Or you could just go to 6, I guess. But when you're working on something that is a lot of frames, this is how I do it. I could show you the other way too, just to try it. Set. And now you wait, you go through 5 frames. Say you've got 20, you know, and you wanted to stop and start at frame 6. So you're going to go through 5, accepting okay, 2, 3, 4, 5. When you get to this screen, you see this needle plus minus down here. So I was pressing OK 5 times before I got to this screen, and the frame on the left was moving. So I pressed the needle plus minus, and it shows the segments. So I would just press this until it advanced to be number 6. And I'll press OK. And now it's telling me to rehoop towards the right. So it thinks that I'm at the end. There. And now when I did that, it moved it back to the starting point. So I would have, you know, if I turned off my machine, I would have taken the hoop out. I just told the machine to start again on my edge-to-edge quilting at hoop 6. So it knows this is the last hoop. And this is the matching the ending point of the frame 5 to the beginning point of frame 6. So that's how you do that. Now let's try it the other way. I'm going to get out of this again. Okay, now I can go to the home and get out of it. So now let's try it the other way. Embroidery, quilting, oh, sorry, the pocket, this 6 frame embroidery design, and we know we're on frame 6. We'll press 6 and start. I did do it, right? Yeah. Set. And now here, the difference between this option is you got to know where to line things up. There's no machine guided instructions here. This is like if you get experience and you don't need to have all those instructions, then you would just go ahead and move your fabric over to the left, line up the end mark with where you think the beginning mark is, and then it will go to embroidery. And then once you get that lined up, you just go. You can use this icon or key to check to see if things are, you know, level like in the other screen. But I kind of like doing it the other way better. So the other way is, once again, embroidery, pocket, your design, set. Then click 5 OKs while the frame moves. 1, 2, I think that was 2, 3, 4, 5. Here's the needle plus minus. Segment, move to 5 or 6, whatever frame you want to start in. Press OK. And then you're back at getting the machine guided instructions. You know what puzzled me was that it should be over here. So the picture is showing just to rehoop towards the right like you do when you're moving across the row. So it's just a reminder. I guess it's not keeping track in these frames of where you are. But when it moves, it actually knows this is the end point. This is the end point on the far right, and you can make adjustments to move it in the next screen when you press OK. So it knows it's the end, is what I'm trying to say. So that's all there is to that trick. And now I will take it out of the hoop and just show you. There. So now all I have to do is finish the second one, and I'll take this to my downstairs. See, that wasn't bad. I got the blue already, whoops, I don't know, I pushed a button or something. Already taken out. And I'll trim around where the sleeve should be. And I have my first sleeve done. So thanks for watching. Give the video a like, share with a friend. You know what to do. Talk to you soon. Maybe we make a comment. Thanks for watching again. Hope you found this helpful. Let me know. Thank you.